Now, a very good morning, I would like to say to all members of FLOR. Now, on this debate that this House would make international monetary allocation to referenda, we of the government strongly propose this motion. And now we set this debate in democratic countries because that is where only the referendas are viable. And we define the government is financial monetary allocation as money that is allocated by the government towards a form of spending, such as education, defense, and so on. And then we define referenda as a document with a process where people vote. And our standpoint today in what the government set up is that we want to further strengthen democracy in democratic countries. And now our mechanism of doing this is how we are doing this is that first of all, we will officially say national monetary allocation 2 months before. As why 2 months before is because we want to let the people know and let the people know and let the people prepare on the choices on what they are going to vote for. And then once decided, and after that we will set up the rules and so on. And after that we will register the voters who want to vote. And these voters have to be above the legal voting age, which is 21. And then the voters will vote for this or what they want the government to allocate the money to. And after that, after the votes has been counted by an independent commission, then we will announce these votes and we will change our monetary allocation according to what they have voted for. And now the government recognizes two stakeholders in the debate, which are the citizens who are the people voting, and also the government who is affected by this referenda. And now moving on to my substance, in which that under the key phrase accountability. Now my first level of analysis is that if we were to allow people to vote what they want their money allocated for, then this would actually decrease corruption under my analysis of accountability. Now, Mr. Chair, now we often hear of people of politicians investing money away from the fund, away from the government, using them for their own selfish purposes, like allocating money for their own personal fund. Well, now if the people were allowed to vote for what? For if the people were allowed to vote to actually know where the money is put to, then we believe that this will decrease corruption, in which the politicians cannot take advantage of actually setting the policy for themselves. And now on my second level of analysis, in which that lobbying groups that have bad motives cannot influence the government. Now, lobbying groups are groups that actually approach government officials to actually help them change policy. And now and usually the lobbying groups with more money are the ones who can actually influence the government policy.
Given that your lobbying groups also mainly fund your ideas as well, are you going to have a healthier financial sector if you lose revenue?
We believe that we don't actually mind losing revenue as long as democracy is upholded. Then, because we want to actually let the people vote where the money is going. And now, like going on, continue on my second level of analysis, is that lobbying groups can actually have influence over the policy. Now, usually these lobbying groups that actually change the policy are the ones that are rich, are the ones who actually have the money to do so. And usually these lobbying groups, the rich people they don't actually account for the whole of the country. And we believe that by actually letting people vote for what they want this money to be allocated to, we believe that lobbying groups that have bad intentions can influence government policy. And on my third level of analysis, in which that this will make the government more transparent and increase trust between the citizens. Now, if the citizens were to actually know that their money is being put to use, that they are voted for something, they are voted for something that they actually want, then this would actually, like I said, decreases corruption. And when corruption has increased, this would increase the trust between the citizens and the government. Because they already know that there's no more corruption. That corruption has decreased in the politicians. And on my fourth level of analysis, that this makes sure that the government does not make decisions that goes against what the people of the country actually want. Now, in a democratic country, you are actually representing the wants of the people. And by actually letting the people vote for where the money must be allocated, then we are making sure that the government doesn't actually do something against their wishes. For example, A country has very low education, a very low education rate. For some reason, the government increases more spending on the defense. Then it is the right of the people to actually go to actually tell the government that hey, our education is quite bad. We should actually spend more on our education. We on the government side believe so that the people should actually be allowed to vote for where the money is going to. And now to recap, what have I did? What have I shown you? Yes, I've shown you that I've given you a mechanism which is quite accountable, and then other than that, I give you a substantive that this increases accountability of the government, in which that this will decrease corruption because then the people actually the politicians cannot take advantage of what they are of the people.
We then also stop funding humanitarian causes, not only prioritize STEM education.
That is just an example. We are letting the people for themselves decide. That is only just an example. Also, moving on, and then I gave you that lobby groups that have bad influences, that are just, that change policies just because they're rich, will have cannot influence government policy. And also the analysis which this will increase trust between the citizens and the government, and then this will make sure that the government will not do anything against the people's wishes. That side government would like to propose the motion.
Yes, we can. I guess we can do a speech. I'd like to invite Leah to open the debate for opposition side.
There is a simplistic understanding how referendum functions, how money is distributed equally and equitably. Some opposition believes that in a democracy, a government has a need to allocate resources where resources are due and they need to please each and every member. Unfortunately, we think a referendum favors the majority in most cases, and we do not think that is something we will favor. This may happen in a vast majority of cases, or cases that are contentious where referendums apply. Then we will not challenge things like education, things like healthcare, because these things are more likely to be passed off or accepted within referendums, and that's something. What we are going to challenge in type of opposition is things that states are more likely to disagree with the citizens about. We're going to argue that under certain circumstances, it is best that society is unaware of the situation for economic growth and the development that is better for all. So, with regards to that, I'm going to go through one, how individuals on the ground let's analyze the psychology of individuals and how they form perceptions. And second, how does this deter economical progression? How policies be formed? They following the line of logic, right? All the responses integrated are the first argument about corruption and lobbying. So one, how does the formation of individuals work? The thought process of a person is either a short-term or self-sustained, meaning a person prefers policies or economic policies which prioritizes his or her lifestyle or my family or my relatives' lifestyle before things that are more likely to be wrong. Second, things that are self-sustained. If something isn't within my hemisphere or isn't within my line of logic or does not affect my lifestyle, individuals are less likely to vote. A propensity for voting for these things. These things are not bad, because it's not wrong to say it's wrong for a person to believe in prioritizing themselves. But that's why we have a democracy. Because in a democracy, we let a government make these choices. We let a government be equitable and ensure there is a fair minimum level of funding towards each and every cause. Because a government has a need to be accountable to the speaker if they want to stay in power for the following elections. How does this work under a referendum? Considering the line of logic in society, for those things that are more applicable, or things that are more appeal more to society, we can see this go. We can safely say things like liberal arts will have lesser funding in comparison to scientific projects, because individuals on the ground believe that these are things that are more important and these are things that are better towards the cause of humanity. But this is a very short-term thinking by individuals on the ground, because there are certain importances that individuals do not see. For an example, individuals vote things like minimum wage because they think that at the end of the day, it means that there's more money in my pocket to spend. But individuals do not consider the long-term path. More individuals will be laid off by corporations because corporations don't have the ability to pay the same amount of workers more money. This shows that if decisions are made by individuals who are qualified, we take these things into consideration. We have long-term benefits and benefits that can be foreseen not by individuals in society. That's why we're a democracy. That's not why we make individuals decide who's economic policies. We're not about corruption, sure.
Even if the government would make such decisions, case of these fair allegations, usually government will go against the majority of society view, and as a result, how society will trust the government even less.
No. But sometimes we do need to go against the way society. Let's take another example. Let's look at security. We do not tell individuals under a lot of circumstances, we execute policies based on security. The NSA, we try to put down into terrorism or interrogate individuals with basically lesser amount of information that we put forward to individuals on the ground might not like it, but if that means we can inspire individuals and we can pinpoint terrorists at that point in time, we think that that is something worth finding. This means we do have to betray the hearts and minds of the people, but the benefit is we can protect society, we can prevent large-scale attacks on individuals. But for the vast majority of cases, we won't do this, we will support individuals. On the ground, let's look at corruption. Corruption will happen behind the door. We challenge that corruption will fix itself under their laws. Why? Because A, corruption already happens in status quo, and that already happens when governments are already so transparent as to how their funding works. We have policies and governments already making transparent as to how much funding is put forward to specific sectors and the allocation and the delegation of resources. Meaning, if you're already this transparent and corruption already happens, we don't stop corruption when we solve under your paradigm. Politicians will be silent about resources, will be silent about the capacity that they have to spend. They might continue to swindle money, and you cannot control it under your paradigm because it won't just put it up for a referendum. The same thing happens under our paradigm. We don't see how your side solves it. The only difference is in status quo. Politicians don't tell people. Under your paradigm, they'll continue to hide money, and the money they put up for referendum, and the money they put up for delegation. So in order to prove that corruption happens, we need to prove that it already doesn't happen in status quo. So it's a zero-sum game. So the conclusion of the first argument is simple. Politicians and individuals in high-ranking places have a means to make policies that are serving to everyone to earn a vote for themselves. Individuals on that ground do not have that same. Because if I get more money from minimum wage, if I get another school near my house as a part of housing development project, that is something that I find. Even if it starts the growth of my country, it might not affect. Second, how does it deter economical progression? One, as I already told you, short-term policies will more likely to be made as a result. In long term, it's harder to develop the country as a whole. And as this is a debate from economical perspectives, we think that that's something that should be seen with the individuals on the ground, technocrats, with the people who are making policies. But second, we need lessons funding for things that are less appealing towards the needs of society. Let's take an example. Welfare is more appealing as compared to liberal arts. Science is more appealing as compared to liberal arts. So there's nothing for these individuals to be bought into and great as they are, and large amounts of other causes will lose money. Like community colleges, things like liberal arts will lose money because people just don't see the importance in that. What about the minority that sees the importance in that? What about the individuals who study in these community colleges? What about the individuals who have jobs in liberal arts and who have jobs in arts as well? These are people who also need some form of the economic revenue. It might be lesser, but the point is that we cannot cut off with these individuals. As a conclusion, we need to divide revenue equitably and fairly. That cannot happen when people vote where their money is.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker, for your speech. Now, I'd like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister to continue.
Ladies and gentlemen,
allocation, we couldn't understand today's motion about how we only want to allocate national monetary funding to these major funds, right? So we're not talking about those minorities. Because right now we're talking about these majorities of things. And these majorities of things, we believe come inside government. The citizens could recognize themselves. Because the minorities of it, if the government wants to fund those, then we have no problem with that. We will find liberal arts. So if we find that it is something that might be less appealing, it is something that is not as major as it is, because that's what we're debating about today. We're debating, I believe, major things should be decided by citizens or not. So coming from the leader of opposition, right? He told me about how it provokes some individuals to vote for things that are more appealing to themselves. Which coming from side government, we believe that all the things that we're about to say down, all the things we're about to say can be rebutted to the point that they have made. Now, first point that I have, democracy being extended. In what level, right, can democracy be extended? Now, the first level of analysis I have is that because we are based on a democratic country, right? We are based in democracy itself. So considering that the government is that willing enough to extend democracy to the point where any major things should be decided by the citizens. Why? But that's pretty much why. Now, second level analysis that I have is that just like my prime minister said, the objective that could be obtained by implementing today's motion is that the trust people have towards the government itself. Because the thing that's a little bit redundant in that case is that once you do something against the will of the citizens, then at the end you kind of feel as a government yourself because you were chosen by the citizens to do what is the best thing that they agree to, right? But if you do things that are against what they want, then the whole objective of being a government that was chosen by the citizen itself has already failed in the first place. So even if the government was going to decide good things that are better for economic growth, then we believe that at the end of the day, it should be agreed to, it should be decided by the citizen itself. Okay, next one.
So you just conceded if the people don't want economic growth, then it's fine not.
Okay, yeah. We're not saying that the people don't want economic growth. Because coming from their side, yes, we do understand that people will go for things that are more selfishness and whatnot, right? But the thing is here, there are things that the government can do, but recognizing that or showing to the people, the citizens, that look, these are just as important things, these are just major things. And we as like government, we have the trust in the citizens that they are able to make the right decisions for economic growth. We're not saying that the people don't want economic growth. Because we believe that, okay, if it was a fighting about humanitarian aid, now we believe that the people will support this kind of things because and that example itself really shows how unselfish the citizens can be about their money. Now, continuing to my continuing back to what I was trying to say. Like my prime minister said about how it promotes trust. So from there on, when the citizens see that the government does things with the permission or with the agreement at least of the citizens, then we can see from there that the whole point of being a democratic country is actually already obtained. And because the importance here that we want to show to the people is that you are the important. We do things with your consent, and we do things that could help economic growth for what you think is important because it is your country. Now, second point is about how it is to put money. So the first level of analysis I have how it is to put money is that because of the people who pay these taxes, because of the people who fight, like lobbying groups who have good objectives, like they want to help out the government and whatnot, they are able to, let's see, okay, let's give you an example of exactly the lobbying groups that are black. So these lobbying groups who, let's say, they want to fight in things like war that's obviously negative. That's something that shouldn't get some people's mind. Why are these lobbying groups actually trying to tell the government that just influence them, the government, by spending it on war, when there are other things more what to spend it on. So at the end of the day, it's not only the lobbying for the government's decision to where the money goes, but at the end of the day, as well as the rights of the citizens, they have a say in it. They get a say in it, and they get to tell to the government the majority, the vast majority is there that has to be spent on. And these are the people's money, so that's why we believe that coming from side government, we believe that because of it being their money, that they should be able to make the decision in the first place, so that whatever that is happening at the end of the day, it was a decision made by the people. So that because let's just say
So if you want to tell people why funding arts is important, why not fund arts? Because there's a large possibility that individuals still won't believe the state and go back to their self-issue.
okay, because of what I've been trying to say the whole point. If you're trying to say art, okay, this basically art is not something major for the country itself, right? So it is a minority, which is not what we're debating about today. We're debating about things that are major. For example, helping out if there is flood, things that involve the people's money to help major things regarding to the country. Because the government will fund for those things that are minor, and we will explain that these things should be funded for whatever reason it is. But the thing is right now, whatever major things that happen in the country that involve the people's money should be decided by them and them only because of the reasons that side government has been things. So just a recap of our tips today, right? Coming from side government, we tell you that first of all, this can promote trust that we are able to extend this democracy to that certain level. And also second of all, because it is the people's money, it is the right, they have the point to decide where the money goes to, and the government will actually fund things that are minor, but we're talking about major things. So coming from side government, we hope to take these things.
Yeah.
Thank you for your speech. To continue the debate for the opposition side, I'd like to invite Deputy Opposition.
Yeah.
The stability of an economy boils down to the way we engage with it. Therefore, these decisions need to be calculated, rational, and thought out. Inside opposition, we're not going to put these choices in the hands of people most affected, but instead the people most reasonable. Most recently, I asked two questions in terms of substantive. Before that, three responses received government. The first response: will this harm areas of the economy which aren't immediately affected? And there are three reasons how they make it worse. One, because in your side, the minority cannot be represented. You outweigh the influence they have through referendum. In society filled with conservatives, in a society filled with people who'd rather fund science sectors than there are minority students who really want to become artists, painters, or actors, they won't be able to go to college because they're too poor to afford a scholarship, and no one wants to fund them. That's why your minorities are disenfranchised and pushed away because they are not serious in college. But the second reason why you harm these areas is you forfeit long-term decisions. Even though STEM education may seem more important today, even though helping floods may seem more important today, you put too much money into these areas of the economy, then in the future when you can't get that money back, you lose profit. Because you have to realize the economy exists in a spectrum. There are many areas that we have to prioritize, and we have to be fair in giving money to your side, only focus on society that wants things absolutely, that wants things unfair. But the third reason why you harm these areas is society will still also be harmed. Society sometimes makes decisions that aren't the best. You recognize they vote in bad leaders or patients. As you said, therefore, when you give society the ability to make decisions that can harm the economy, then they eventually harm people back down towards that. So they make decisions now. They want to put in too much funding into building a hospital. Back then, they need that money again for the floods itself. They won't have it anymore because they made that decision and they put it in the hands of someone who had the authority and who had the expertise. But the second question in terms of response, will this hurt democracy? We can always exercise our democracy through other means. It doesn't have to be premised upon only economic decisions. How so? You want politicians in based on manifestos. Through their manifestos, you can ascertain what their economic goals and principles are. But we also have representation in the form of labor parties, representation in the form of elected in congressmen or other people to voice out what your communities in parliament. Therefore, these people have the options to voice out their ideas. It is going to be us. But secondly, even if it does hurt democracy, democracy does not always translate to the economy. Why? Because everyone can voice out their opinion, but everyone's opinion might be skewed. Everyone's opinion might not be the best thing possible. Therefore, we need to be able to moderate. You moderate the bad opinions between the good opinions. You give people that ability of moderation through parliament and government, where you have authority to foresee and observe what's going on and then make the best decision based on what they see from both parties, from both sides. But finally, will this make people feel better and unite? We don't think so, because it's still going to disenfranchise certain people who don't feel the same way. Disenfranchise people who are disprivileged education because other individuals believe. And finally, take your ask my question. Will this provide security to the people? Because it's their money and they need to see where it goes. You're not going to stop lobbying. We will always need lobbying because lobbying provides funding that helps us enact policies. So without lobbying, you don't have your monster education. You don't have all the other stuff that you want to vote for. You just make the lobbying group more reluctant to fund. And when you make the lobbying group more reluctant to fund, you reduce the ability for government to be more ambitious in making policy. Because we need to be more careful with the way we spend our money. Therefore, we're going to have less projects into green technology. We're going to have less projects into improving the education and improving healthcare because we can't afford it right now due to a lack of funding, due to a lack of sponsors. But the second reason, even if you do stop lobbying groups, then you're still going to have some form of lobbying society because of these different paths that are going to fight against each other. You're going to have more discussion that may not be positive into the next. Before I move into my argument, yes.
Sir, considering the fact that you want to prioritize such decisions made by the authority in comparison to the whole basis of democracy within the world, then why don't you just apply this to considering that you want to essentially change this country into an authoritarian country whereby the decisions are all made by the government?
But the decisions aren't all made by the government because the decision of having a government is put in by the people. People vote in him, and when they vote in him, they can probably tell what we want and put in manifesto. But we think government has a very unique role in moderating them by seeing both things that happen, and they even have best perspective by not being most effective but being both as watchdogs. My first question I'll ask in terms of that: why are government authorities most apt in making these decisions? Which will not only deal with the fact that they are afraid of government authorities being incompetent, but also why we need to be able to outsource these abilities towards them. The first reason why they're best to make these decisions. Government authorities are democratically elected as accountable to people. They're not only accountable to simply being elected, but to legislature, parliament, and even Congress. For the second reason, ministers and civil servants are bound by extremely high ethical standards. That was standards of proper behavior are ensured through codes of conduct and declarations of interest. We make sure that they always stay in the manifesto to having more reforms and more laws. But the third reason is that the financial health of the people is fundamental to the financial health of government. Therefore, they won't make better decisions because if they do, then it's their paychecks that are on time, it's their lives that are on time, compared to a bunch of businessmen who don't really need to care that much about humanity and education, who don't really care about the new hospitals you're bringing. The pushback to team government is why we rather put sensitive, important economic issues in the hands of people who have lesser confidence in society in the country. The second question, why is it important to give autonomy to government? Referendums could consistently hamper or stop economic progress because reforms and policies will always be rejected. Therefore, why do we need to give government more freedom? Firstly, because of job gains, as the economy slowly gets more better because of the long-term policies we have, then less subsidies and taxes are needed to make it stronger. Therefore, more investment for medical consumption results in better paid jobs, but also more revenue to the economy. But the second part of reason is capital. Governments need to be able to make decisions on investments in other areas of the economy so they can raise money to the other stakeholders in the country. And people want because they abandon their social obligations, they don't see immediate profit. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. Now I'd like to invite Conway.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are dealing with an opposite side who has come up tell us over and over again that they have no problems with these governments making their own decisions. Unrelated to what the people want, what the majority of society wants as a result of the fact that it's democracy. It is the whole point of democracy, the fundamental basis that they're allowed to vote, that they're allowed direct involvement in relation to these decisions, in relation to the policies to them. Which is why they are a democracy, which is why we have to allow all these various national monetary allocations to a referendum. Which is why this relates to the fact that, as I've said over and over again, is the whole point of the purpose of democracy in this case, which we shall uphold, which we are upholding. Now, first issue I have with this debate is under the umbrella of what I talked about is corruption. Now, they have come up to tell us that within our policy, this actually doesn't affect corruption at all. It's fair to say that we are already very transparent, and as a result, this politician will continue accepting the problem is, considering that as a result, corruption still occurs, we are actually minimizing any sort of corruption effort through our policy. Why? First of all, the problem is they have failed to really deal with the issue of corruption in this case anyway, while we, on the other hand, are trying to deal with this case by considering they say that we're already being very transparent, we're actually being even more transparent to ensure that whatever corruption that happens through the government, we ensure that it's fun, not cited off in any other places that are not ideally inclined for the society one that benefits these government officials in this case, according to their ulterior motive. That is pretty much what corruption is. And the fact of the matter is, as we increase this transparency, as we're allowed to vote and we're allowed to pinpoint where this money will be going in terms of these major national monetary allocations, we are able to tell the people, pinpoint and clearly as possible, most distinct, even more transparent than we have been before, as to how this money is going to be spent. As a result, we clearly showing that we are doing our absolute best to minimize corruption, to be able to mitigate the fact of what corruption is. Clearly, of course, corruption cannot stop. Corruption will not disappear just like that. But we are doing our best to mitigate it. And as a result, through our policy, we're able to minimize minimize whatever corruption is happening. We're able to bring corruption to the absolute low that it will ever reach to ensure that the plague of corruption doesn't affect our government officials. To ensure that this corruption doesn't increase wholesale too much throughout our society. And yes,
won't you still have an abuse of power when people only make decisions in referendum not based on information or calculation? Won't you still have an abuse of power in referendum? People are not making decisions based on information or reflection of society.
so, in this case, what I learned from your POI is that you're asking me as to how there will still be an abuse of power issue from the people or the government or whatever. But it doesn't matter because in this case, we're still talking about the votes of the people, the majority, because they are deciding for themselves. And that's the thing. That's the whole point of the democracy in this case. It actually leads me to my next issue in this way, of democracy. We're making it absolutely clear as to how these people are allowed to vote for what they want to do major allocations. Now, obviously they say that these people make selfish decisions, that these people won't vote for things like liberal arts, won't vote for things that they don't want, basically. Obviously they say, they realize that, obviously these people will vote for education, welfare, and so on and so forth. The thing is, even if they don't want to vote for education, even if they don't want to vote for good things, inherently, essentially, you don't mind. Because the whole point is, in this case, of the democracy, not prioritizing the fact that we want these people to be allowed to make their own decisions. Through these prioritizing the whole notion of democracy in this case, through the people. And that's it. That's the whole fundamental basis of democracy. The ability to vote, the ability to give your own opinion, the ability to contribute, give some sort of significant decision, ability to influence the decision that is made. That's the whole point of a democracy. And we are extending the democracy to ensure that they are able to make decisions based on what they want. And that's the problem in this case that they fail to see, that we want to imply, we want to increase this democracy. Because the problem is, under that paradigm, they usually say that we can already vote for democracy very means. Things like the legislature, Congress, whatever. But the problem is, we're already offering the direct means, direct memory to the people to be allowed to make their own choices in relation to how money is being allocated. And that's the thing. We don't care if the decisions are selfish. We don't care if whatever they choose, the majority doesn't suit minorities. We have no problem with that because we want the majority to be able to make for themselves. The majority, the voice of the people. That is the whole fundamental basis of any democracy in this case. We're essentially coming up against the totalitarian opposition. And that actually leads to the next point. The point of economy in this case. One problem, they also speak as to how the minority of people interested in things like liberal arts, pretty much the only example they can use, not the current of liberal arts, is how these people will be put aside, they won't allow their medium essentially to these fields. The problem is, as we can clearly see, as in the terming of the motion, major national monetary allocation. Of course, major, we're putting more and more, these are all based on how much money we're putting. So essentially, any monetary allocations that require a lot of money will be this is why we have a problem with a lot of money being pushed to liberal arts. Because they are the minority in this case, they don't need all that money, which is why we have no problem with minor monetary allocations being allocated to these things. Because as we have said, there are the minority in this case. They are the people who they don't reflect the majority of what society wants. And that's the thing in this case. We want the majority of the society to be able to pick for themselves what they want. Their responsibility of the trust, or maybe the government and the people. Now that the people are allowed to make these choices. And the thing is, in relation to economic growth in this case, they have to explicitly explain as to how these decisions made by the people affect the economic growth when they don't vote for liberal arts. That's crazy. Yeah, we did actually explicitly state this economic growth. But let's just assume it decreases the economic growth. The thing is, doing these selfish votes, they won't completely destroy, they won't completely obliterate the whole structure of the economy that we have. The thing is, we are willing to make these concessions in terms of reducing the overall economic growth of our economy. We are okay with the slowing growth of our economy as long as we are upholding the democracy. As long as the people get what they want, and it is their money, they have their right to what they have to pay for, do their taxes, And as such, we feel that these people, that I myself, if I make these actions, I get what I want as the majority of public opinion. And this is why in this case, we the government side are upholding democracy, while we are getting rid of corruption, while they truly don't care about these issues that we have been putting forward over and over.
I guess we will switch now to the constructive features of also like MIDP.
Democracy is how it's implemented. We agree. But when you give an ultimate legitimate power to majority, it is something that we abhor, especially when you oppress the interest of the minority within that referendum, right? So we don't necessarily take the behavior to these minority things like you are that are already organized, but do hold intrinsic value towards the do hold intrinsic value towards the needs of society. You might speak our answer to firstly, how do we ascertain these fair and equal positions? Then I'll make a priority to referendums and government positions. And secondly, we use the data policy as our main contention for each opposition. So I'll respond to all that, right? So my first question is, how do we ascertain who makes fair and equal decisions? My first question is that is the government fair allocation of money? Because the other intention was that these governments will act in a way that where they don't need society, or they will act in a way where they commit corruption, right? And they only care for themselves. We think that this is not necessarily true. Firstly, because we think that firstly, what Sid really told you, right? That largely responded to that idea of corruption, right? After our vote. But firstly, this government is elected out of democracy, right? So what does that mean? It means they are accountable for the people, right? They are accountable for the people, So they have to cater to the people in order to gain their trust, right? They use so necessarily what they do have. So if you don't do that, you are having that, right? If you do this corruption, if you are found to do so, you are not happy with that, right? But secondly, if even corruption does happen within households, we think that is usually right? Because corruption does happen within people. What is the distinction here? It's the differentiation of allocation. The differentiation of allocation is the referendum and the government. It's mainly what you're talking about. They heavily right? He talked to you about how he characterized you on how society was, how society perceives types of referendum. Because he made it think how they form their mindset for these types of issues that are brought up in this referendum. Right? They only pursue self-interest, and they not associate. If you're not affiliated with that certain issue, then you're not necessarily like you're not necessarily wanting to vote for it, right? So so in the majority of the circumstances, there will be a majority vote within that referendum, right? So what issues are trying to do that people have different perceptions of that certain issue, right? But this referendum only prioritizes the majority perception of that issue, and doesn't necessarily prioritize the minority perception of that certain issue, right? And they completely ignore it. So that really points to the differentiating of allocation between the referendum and the government. So the government is trying to because it's the best party to allocate money value towards society. So I'm going to my second question.
Sir, can you explicitly state to me how not voting for liberal arts can lead to stunting economic growth? And even so, don't you think that is more important that we are able to uphold the democracy in this case in relation to the majority of public opinion?
We don't necessarily think it's only about liberal arts. There are other aspects that they could be ignored. So let's look at that question. Also, responding to one, right? On how do we increase trust in Israel? Because their main contention was how you don't allow the referendum, you don't propagate the trust between the government and the people. But within this scenario, we really take a view that if you were to allow a referendum, the majority would stop minority, right? But not only that, if the majority were given, or if you only focus on one perception of that certain referendum, you give that major power to the majority into making decisions. Then also use the trust of operating. You also use the trust of operating, right? Because this sophisticated within my speaker. When you use the trust of operations, that also degrades the economy within this situation, right? Because the perception or the economic operations might differ from the majority perception as well. And that's different, and I think it's very different when the government takes control of these decisions. Right? So we think that you don't even start with the people, because you don't prioritize the minority, you don't prioritize the demands of operations, and you lose trust between one. My friend, you need majority that the majority of the why? Because firstly, we need that people's productivity stepped up. Because we do realize that it's a significant value in things like liberal arts, or we need things like liberal arts and minority interests, right? So we, like for example, how about how mining on certain ways in the economy. Right? This could help on how it works. You can also understand how you want to progress your technology within the country, right? So it is a form of teaching. It is a form of making your country progress and also, right? Because you gain more knowledge, you gain more understanding of how society works to progress the form of technology, right? So we need that it does lead to progress. We devalue the size of inside the language, right? My second issue, how do you use democracy? Firstly, with is democracy extended? We need that democracy is fully extended when we reach all our society, and the government does exactly that. But other than that, can we suspend democracy? We can suspend democracy. Like for example, national security or long-term benefit. So we can find long-term benefit to prioritize both our society, majority and minority. Because the cost benefit analysis, we can progress the nation as well. Secondly, is it really the people's money? Because that was the question of the adjustment. We think it is the people's money, and we facilitate that because the taxpayers' money is equally distributed within this scenario. Moreover, we support the intention of you paying your tax because in this scenario. So for all those reasons, we believe that the government takes the best decision into allocating the resources equally distributed into society, and therefore we can prioritize the progression of the nation, we can prioritize all parts of society.
I guess we were speech now, by speech. Yeah.
For some time, we use taxpayers' money to pay for individuals who suffer as a result of lung cancer, as a result of problems with smoking and health, even if individuals are not. We do things like pour money into welfare, but we recognize that we cannot pour too much money due to the structural problems that exist within welfare and the mismanagement of money that individuals. There are many things that people are oblivious. There are many things that people pick and choose to ignore because they think that it's beneficial towards their life. Some government chose to be convenient. They chose to pick off more than they could chew. They told us three things ultimately that one, they told us that all the things that the interests of the minority do not contribute towards the upbringing of the economy. Sports, arts, green technology, welfare. These are things that might have potential in helping things like long-term policies, economic policies, in replacing things like fuel subsidies, or in finding a permanent fuel source. But if individuals on the ground think that subsidizing my petrol is better than subsidizing green technology, how do we then push forward for a more sustainable economy? So it's not true to say that these are things that are irrelevant towards the economy. These are liberal arts by jobs towards individuals on the ground, individuals with spurring interest within these areas and these sectors. Individuals can bring money back through taxing them, we can earn money from these individuals. So it's clear, we can make money from this, and the government has a need to develop the economy through this interest. The second thing for us was it okay to be with the economy? Also wrong. Because they said the spirit of democracy is a give and take system that works within the country, where each individual has the ability to give his or her opinion and be taken seriously. It is a contradiction for them to say it is fine if your interest is not in line with ours, we will just not subsidize it, you have to do something else with your. That is a principal contradiction, and they are not upholding democracy. Because why is it fair that we can subsidize everything in equal amounts, but we just choose not to because it's not in line with the majority interest? Individuals in cultural background will lose as a result. Individuals who work in green technology sectors will lose as a result. Individuals in liberal arts or astrology will lose because people just don't see an interest in this. And then they try to run away. They try to tell us to be educated. One, that's a principal conception that individuals are less aware and we cannot make them aware as ever. But two, that is a reason proving that we can already take the next step. We can already bypass their own vote and make the decision for them. But the third concern that Thai government had, and to basically summarize it, they were worried about corruption. They were worried about lobbying. They said that these are things that affect the way that the economy. It is wrong to say a lobby group brings the downfall of the country because without the existence of lobby groups, we won't have money for political parties to execute their projects. But corruption is already check and balance in this scope. We have public displays of the allocation of resources and we have a public display of the percentages of money that is allocated to specific sectors. Meaning, if with all these check and balances, corruption still exists, it will still exist under your paradigm because politicians can continue to swindle money and take it out of the system and have referendums for what's it. Because that is how they do it in Interschool. They haven't proved to us how they minimize corruption under their paradigm. So they considered that people might bypass the economy and people might not care about the economy. What's the use of being happy in a country where no one will progress and the standards of living of people appreciate?
Now, the debate, I'd like to invite the government to speak.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's just do a little bit of a comparative analysis. So coming from both sides, the two things, the issues that the government wanted to address in the first place, the Prime Minister, was about, they wanted to address the issue of economic growth, while we wanted to address the issue of democracy, and also as well as corruption. Now, under our paradigm, we tell you that democracy is extended to the point where people are able to trust because of the points that I given. But under that paradigm, how exactly is democracy supposed to be further enforced or supposed to have even gain more trust of people in the first place? So from that point of view, side government already gets that one. But also second of all, it's about, let's just talk about corruption for a while. So they're talking about how we are already transparent and people, that's how corruption already happens. But in our paradigm today, corruption can be lessened because of if there were lobbying that were, this is an example that has been given over and over again for all these things. If there was a lobbying group that was like a bad lobbying group that has influenced, let's say, a community politics, money for something completely useless, that can no longer exist because the decisions are not made by any politician, but of the people. And also, second of all, let's just talk about it in 2.5. So, from government side government, what we're trying to say is, okay, the stakeholders, the government as well, how they'll be affected, and also society. So, under our paradigm, under their paradigm, society is already observing whatever use that the government has with the money. Yes, research show it, but society doesn't really give a damn because they can't even make the decision where the money goes. So that's why, right now, under their paradigm, still, economic growth cannot be achieved if that's what they want to achieve. But under our paradigm, it is achieved because of the things that people do recognize as important. And another thing, the question that has been asked over again is that what are the people not voting for that should be voted for? The only example they could give you was liberal arts, showing that the Dutch people came up and told you that there are other things, but then we didn't clarify what are those other things. We just stopped that immediately. So showing us that even side opposition couldn't tell you about what are the things that we should be voting for in the first place that is so important that it has become a minority because people don't get down about it. Because at the end of the day, we have to realize that if it's such an important thing, if it's such a major thing, that society would have recognized it in the first place. But if so, that means it's probably not as important, and that it couldn't really contribute to any economic growth in the first place. Now, an example is the Vietnam War. So what happened in the Vietnam War is that the government, they decided to go to Vietnam to further extend democracy there and whatnot. The thing is, society itself didn't like it at all. They had the idea of it. So this is an example. This is a decision made by a government, which the society didn't approve of, but they still went on with it because, they're in charge. They do what they want to do. And because of that, at the end, what happened in the Vietnam War is that they lost. And in fact, they lost a lot of money as well, trying to do whatever it is they tried to do in Vietnam. Showing to you that because of that, society, which in the Vietnam War, they even support that, so that society is capable of making decisions which they think are right. And because sometimes, at the end of the day, the government is either influenced by that influential group, or either the government is doing wrong decisions. Because you can't completely tell the manufacturer to do this, and when you want to become a politician, you have to do that. There are many cases of that happening right now. So under side government, there are a lot of things obtained, like the democracy and as well as economic growth, also lessening corruption, which none of that is happening in South Africa.
Alright, thank you everyone. Just close the floor so we can take the room of audio in a minute. Thank you.